as you will likely lose power, cable, and things like that.
We actually have a view from right outside.
Let's go back to this. Okay, our assistant news director, Shauna Bober, is trying to get us a view looking right outside into what we like to refer to as our satellite garden.
Yes. We actually have to go back to the EOC now.
Okay.
We do have officials walking up now.
Good morning. This is Bay County EOC briefing on Hurricane Michael, catastrophic hurricane that is currently impacting Bay County, Florida, and beginning its landfall. It has become unsafe to travel on our streets. It has become unsafe to cross our bridges. People at this point have to do their best to take care of their own life safety. It has become unsafe for first responders to respond in many parts of the county. You cannot count on a first responder coming to your location at this time. This is a catastrophic storm, and people need to, at this point, do the best they can. If they chose not to evacuate and they're being impacted by this storm, they are going to be on their own for a period of time. And it is our sincere hope that we come through this with no loss of life, minimal property damage, but we fear that that is not going to be the case. We are all the agencies, federal, state, local, are doing everything possible to make sure that we are staging resources. We are going to be ready to respond and recover from this event, and we're going to do whatever is necessary to make sure that this community can recover from this event and make sure that we are better prepared in the future when these events occur, because we know that they will. Let me see if I've missed anything here. Obviously, reentry is going to be an issue. That is an issue that we are working through at this time to make sure that while people are prevented from entering areas that may be unsafe due to down power lines and all manner of destruction that might occur, we are also very sensitive. Everyone in Bay County, including law enforcement, is very sensitive to the fact that people will want to return to their homes, regardless of what the damage is, even if it may be to see what happened and then to leave. But there will be places in this county that simply will be unsafe to return to. There will be debris on roadways that will prevent people from physically being able to travel. And so people who have evacuated, people who got out ahead of this thing, please watch the local media, watch our Facebook and Twitter. There's tons of places you can get information out there. See what it's like down here before you decide that you want to come back. Power outages are likely to be very long. You know, this is going to be a rough road for quite a while, and people who have chosen to evacuate wisely need to now make a decision that's wise and really look at what the conditions are down here before they decide to come back, because that can be a tragedy in and of itself. They can be trapped on the roadway. They may not have access to food, water, medicines, facilities to use the bathroom, just a whole host of things. They don't want to have survived this thing and then get stranded on a road somewhere and get into some kind of trouble there where somebody can't help them. So the reentry is going to be a big deal for everybody. We're going to work with our citizens. We all live here. If we were not here, we would want to come back, but we would make the right choice and come back at the right time. We ask for everyone's patience as we get through this, and certainly we will continue to provide updates through all means necessary, including our media partners, Twitter and Facebook.
My name is Ruth Corley, C-O-R-L-E-Y, Bay County Sheriff's Office, Public Information. One thing I want to say, I'm going to reiterate what Chief Bowen so eloquently said. Please stay off the roads. Please stay off the roads. I know it's tempting to go out. You want to see what's going on, but it's very dangerous at this time. Hathaway Bridge has been deemed unsafe, too unsafe to cross. Stay off the roads. Cannot say that more emphatically. Please be careful. Sheriff Ford has pulled deputies off the roads as well right now due to the unsafe conditions. They are sheltering at predetermined areas such as fire departments, and they'll be remaining there until conditions improve, and it may be a while. It's impossible to say how long that will be, but we want to ask for your patience. We're doing the best we can. It's very frustrating for us as first responders not to be able to answer those calls for service when they come in. But as soon as conditions improve, we will be responding. We will be coming. It may be more difficult. It may take us longer. There'll be debris. There'll be probably standing water. We want you to know that we have staged vehicles that can handle those circumstances a little better throughout the county. So we'll be able to use those to come in and to help you. Just be patient as we do make the utmost effort to keep you safe and to get to you when you need us. Another thing, I know we're getting lots and lots of questions about reentry. I can't say much more than Chief Bowen did. He did a great job. Just again, I want to reiterate, be patient. We're going to do a damage assessment as soon as we possibly can, and as soon as it is safe. For those of you who have evacuated, we will be letting you in, but we have to make sure it's safe. You don't want to return.
Okay, it looks like we have lost our feed from the Bay County Emergency Operations Center. If we get that back in the next few minutes, our producers will let us know immediately, and we will go back out to them. We don't have that at the moment. We do have Ryan. I do also want to let you know if things start to change around here, we are making preparations to move into the interior part of our building.
Right.
The studio is the newer section, and honestly, it's the older section that's more concrete fortified that we will need to be in as well, so we can continue to give you information. So we will be going bare bones, doing it off one camera, doing the best we can to keep this going. But if we move quickly, understand that's what we are doing. Right now, they're setting that up so that we'll have that in place. Let's head over to Ryan right now.
Yes, because Ryan, we are just hearing the winds right here.
And looking out the window here, just seeing the pine trees in our satellite farm absolutely bending at almost a 45-degree angle. This is a live look out towards schooners, and we've seen the waves even roll their way all the way up on towards the dunes here, folks. It's certainly a nasty system. 4 category and 150-mile-per-hour winds. There's the northeasterly turn that we've been watching happen here over the last couple hours. A north-northeasterly movement at 14 miles per hour is getting dangerously close with the outer band of this system. And again, the eye, perfect structure, almost a perfect circle here with this system. Very symmetric. The outflow with it, you can see in the cloud tops and the upper levels of the atmosphere. It's breathing right. We've got the inflow in at the surface, up and out with this system, and that's breathing and helping to continue to keep this a strong storm. You can see just how dangerously close that eye wall is getting towards our coastline at this point. And so they have gone ahead and issued something that you hardly ever see, an extreme wind warning. And it's never happened for the Panhandle. These warnings were issued in 2005 after that hurricane season there. And I'll tell you, the extreme wind warning only gets issued when the wind speeds are expected to be over 110 miles per hour, about an hour ahead of the hurricane working its way on towards the coastline. Of course, all the rest of us are in the hurricane warning, likely to see those hurricane force winds. That outer band, it's less than 15 miles away here from the Panama City Bay County coastline here with this system. That eye wall, again, is going to pack the strongest of the winds. And we're dealing with 150-mile-per-hour winds right now, a very strong Category 4 storm. We're on the cusp of a Category 5, and there's chances that we could see even wind gusts get up to about 145. So what we're talking about is this band basically right here. It's located about, say, just around about 13 miles or less there from the coastline, and for the most part, it's that outer band that's going to be working its way up onto the coast, packing the biggest winds here with this system. So once that starts to work its way on towards the coastline, things are really, really going to get devastating. Okay, it sounds like the EOC might be back up, so we're going to go rejoin, or actually we're going to head over to Chris over at the reporting station.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ryan. Yeah, this is some video that just came in on Twitter. This is on Panama City Beach. And I'm going to go ahead and let me make this full screen. And we'll just go ahead and play this from the very beginning. And want you to keep an eye on, this is a building here, a house that's under construction. And you can see there it's collapsed. And the water undermining all these houses right here. That's the Condo building. I'm not sure which one this is. It looks like maybe it's on the east end of Panama City Beach, but obviously the water continuing to run up along the dune line. We had that one house collapse right there near the Condo building, but that was some video that we just got in on Twitter just a few moments ago. Again, there's another look at it. Just incredible, and we're still a good hour away from some of the worst of the weather as it continues to move towards the coastline. The Gulf of Mexico, as we were talking about earlier, is up about 4 feet on Panama City Beach, and it could get as high as 6 to 9 feet on Panama City Beach, so we still have several more feet. We're going to continue to see conditions deteriorate there. As we look at the very latest with the radar imagery with the center, we've been looking at over here into the eye wall. Now keep in mind this is at an elevated position because the radar site is located over in Red Bay, but I've been sampling some winds over on the side of the storm in excess. You see there's 130, 140 miles per hour. Over on the eastern side just a little while ago, over on this side, I was able to sample some winds of 170 miles per hour over on this eastern side of the storm. But again, that was at several thousand feet above the ground, which is what they do is they, that's above the ground, and then the sustained winds are measured at the surface. So you can see. Let's see. What just?
The transmitter, I think, just crashed outside.
Transmitter?
Getting ready to move to the news.
Okay.
Just a short time.
Okay. We're still on air. I think we lost, I think, a tower out back. We're going to be moving probably to a different place here shortly, but we're still going to continue to broadcast as long as we can. Again, as you look here, basically over in this area here, 173 miles an hour. Again, that was at about 4,000 feet when you look at compared to the radar elevation. But just gives you an idea of the incredible wind that's going to be moving onshore with the eye as it moves up towards the coastline. Now, right now, again, the eye looks like it's going to move in somewhere between Tyndall Air Force Base, Mexico Beach, Port St. Joe, basically kind of the eastern part of Bay County, and the western part of Gulf County looks to be where the center of circulation is. We're continuing to see a lot of lightning associated right around the eye. That's another indication of intensification. And as we talked about just a little while ago, the storm had continued to increase up to now 150 miles per hour, and the pressure was dropping down into the low 920s. I think 923 was the official pressure. Okay, let's go ahead and go to that live video outside from Shauna. So this is outside the TV station, and you can see the trees obviously waving around a good bit. And what did we end up losing outside? Nothing? Okay. But this is a live look outside our studios here at WJHG. Again, right now, if you look basically up here, our studios are, we can do up here towards the top part of the screen. And, that's a good 30 miles away. We're about 30 miles or so away from the eye. Now, as far as from some of the worst of the weather, up into this area here, we're about 18 miles away here at the TV station. So once you start getting into this, and this is going to move onshore, and it's going to move onshore into Panama City, Callaway, Lynn Haven, over towards Springfield, that's where that's where you have the best chance of seeing the sustained winds as high as 150 miles per hour. You're going to see gusts that are possible even higher than that. We'll obviously keep a close eye on the wind speed sensor over there at Tyndall Air Force Base. There's a weather station right there. There's another one over at the drone runway right there. So we'll want to keep an eye on both of those weather stations, guys, as to what we end up seeing with the sustained winds and the gusts, because, again, the eye itself is going to pass right through this area. Right through the center, as you look at the visible satellite imagery that we've been looking at. Okay, that was, let's see, getting some information. Fence around. Okay, earlier when I was showing y'all some video, and this was back over some video from Salmon. This is at Tidewater. That's I was wondering which one that was. This is at Tidewater Resort. So this is more on the west end of Panama City Beach. The fence is now being pulled away as the water continues to rush up along the Condo Tower. So that was over on the west end of Panama City Beach. I know that was, I had asked the question to make sure which Condo Tower that was. Bring back the radar imagery. So again, what we're going to be looking at, landfalling of this hurricane right now, and it is, so if we go basically over in this area, the eye is currently about an hour or so away from landfall. So the eye will begin to cross the coastlines, moving at about 15 miles an hour. It's about 17 miles or so. So that would put us a little bit after noon today. This is when we think this will officially begin to move on shore. And then at that point, conditions will continue to go downhill across the rest of northwest Florida. Already we're looking at heavy rainfall, but we'll continue to watch this as it moves up over places like Calhoun County and eastern parts of Jackson County. So a lot of folks are going to get a lot of bad weather as this storm moves inland. And places that are inland locations that you think of hurricanes as a coastal event, it's going to be a big deal for you as well, as you're going to see at least the possibility of winds of over 100 miles an hour anywhere that eye travels. As it continues to slowly wind down, you're still going to have the possibility of 100-mile-per-hour winds right along that eye wall as it moves up into Gulf County, Franklin, Calhoun County, and over into Jackson County. We can do a little bit more sampling here. This is from the Eglin radar, and you're seeing 150, 160 miles per hour with some of the winds as the eye continues to move up. And then over on the western side of the storm, again, very similar. Basically, winds are, looking at it, and again, this is a couple thousand feet above the ground at about 120 to 130 miles per hour, giving you an idea of the intensity of the winds that are going to be on as that eye wall continues to make its way towards the coastline. Now, Ryan, what do you have for us?
Well, Chris, yeah, that eye is getting dangerously close here. We're looking at sustained winds right now. Apalachicola, sustained wind of 58 miles per hour. We're over tropical storm force winds at both Tyndall and even over towards Panama City. What we'll be looking for, folks, here across the eye wall is what Chris was talking about. It's this outer band that we'll be watching make its way up on towards the coast here as we head into the next, say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We're going to start to see some of the strongest winds with this system basically moving right up in between Panama City and Tyndall here. That outer band is the eye wall of a strong Category 4 hurricane that contains, well, roughly 150-mile-an-hour winds. But like Chris said, in some of those bands and a little bit above the surface, granted, where the radar station is, you can see that beam coming out. It was sampling winds in the system, and he said at about 170 miles per hour at times. You take a different look at the eye wall, you might have heard of the stadium effect with this system. Also, when Chris was talking about the pressure drops and how it basically works is when the planes fly through the system, they sample this outer wall, the pressure in those thunderstorms way down. But then we cross over the eye wall, and you notice into the eye of the hurricane, relatively no clouds whatsoever. But these rain shafts are going up to about 30,000 feet, 45,000 feet cloud tops. you put that into perspective, and that's where some of our big-time jets are flying all the way up at that level. So we have got some big-time clouds rolling in with that band. Another perspective of this leading edge of the hurricane, Category 4 Michael, is a 3D look at that band rolling its way up on towards the coast. Panama City located right here. Tyndall would be right on the back side of that. You can just see the stacked up nature of that eye wall with these very potent bands that are right around the eye wall about to work their way up on towards the coastline. Gusts right now over hurricane strength down towards Apalachicola at 79 miles per hour. 66 mile per hour winds, gusts that is, in Tyndall. And we're just now starting to see some of those roll their way up to near 50 mile per hour gusts in Panama City. And that storm system is, again, still a bit further off the coastline. So we're certainly going to be talking about the potential for power outages as this works its way on. I know I've got my security camera back at home, and that went out. So I'm guaranteed that my power in my neighborhood is probably out here at this point, and I'm hoping that, well, at least the structure of my home kind of stays in place here, because certainly when we talk about 150 mile per hour winds rolling their way up onto the coastline like Chris showed you with that video, it's going to cause some structural damages here to some of our buildings, some of our homes, and hopefully those folks heeded the warnings to get out while we could. We're watching the worst of the effects now starting to roll their way on towards the coastline. Just about when we forecasted it, after 11 a.m., things are really going to start to turn hairy now with the winds heading throughout the rest of the afternoon and going right on into the evening with this storm. And the surge is really starting to pick up on the coastline as well. That's going to continue to worsen as we head into the next several hours, causing also flooding, with that becoming a concern even with the rains that we're having outside with that main band as well as it works its way on towards the coastline. So certainly everything's still in play here with this system, and well, it's looking like the dire situation that we expected here to see with it. Let's see if we can head back over to Chris here at this point in time and see what Chris is working on.
Yeah, Ryan, I was just, as a matter of fact, doing some checking as far as you were talking about the power outages, and you can see a good many of those power outages now beginning to show up. I had one of my neighbors say that out where I live in Inlet Beach that the power was out there, but I still have power at my house because my cameras are still working right now. So as we look on the Gulf Power website, you can go through here and you can click on the various different reports of outages, and it tells you how many people are out, and basically 170 people, customers are out over eastern parts of Panama City Beach. 5,413 are reported with this outage, and that would probably be, that's like down towards Lower Grand Lagoon, so a lot of people now beginning to lose power there. Over in Panama City, that's 5,000 people without power there. There's another 6,800 people located over towards like the Callaway area. And this is all at the Gulf Power website.
Chris, we're going to go to the newsroom.
Okay.
We'll be up there, so you can take a live shot there.
Okay.
Y'all come up whenever you feel
Okay. Absolutely. So what we're looking at right now is we're looking at power outages really beginning to ramp up across our area, and you can keep up with all this on the Gulf Power website. Now, obviously, there's different energy customers down towards Mexico Beach, Port St. Joe. Is it FP&L that has that area? Or Duke Power, Duke Energy. That's right, Duke Energy. And in a little bit, I'll pull up that as well, and we'll check on, let's see, Duke Energy.
If you just Google Florida power outages, it will break it down by county.
Okay. Florida power outages.
3,000 without power in Bay County.
23,000 without power currently in Bay County. So, and you see, we go into Gulf County. Basically, customers tracked 6,672, and of those for Duke Energy, 5,000 don't have power. Gulf Coast Electric Co-op has 7,600 people, and 2,600 of those are without power. Sorry, the winds are really beginning to howl outside here at the TV station. If we go up into Bay County, Gulf Power has 103,000 customers. About a fifth of those are without power. Gulf Coast is 10,000, and about a tenth of those are without power. And all of Duke Energy's customers are without power currently in Bay County. As we go down into Franklin County, basically almost everyone in Franklin County is without power. Duke Energy has 10,000 people, customers, and basically 9,000 of those. So 90% of the customers down in Franklin County are currently without power.
That band is just about to hit the coastline.
Which one is this?
The outer band is just about to hit the coast.
Let's see. So basically, what Ryan's talking about is this right here is about ready to move up. So the TV station is basically right here, and this is going to be the worst of the weather that's about ready to push up onto the coastline, and probably here in the next very little bit, and that's when that's going to be the worst of our weather, and we're going to be in it for a while as the storm continues to move up, again, towards the northeast, but it looks like landfall is going to occur across the eastern part of Bay County, basically between Mexico Beach and over towards Tyndall Air Force Base. I did have, let me see, wind speeds 130 knots. I had a tweet up, and let me see if I can find it. I'm trying to find out where okay. This was video from basically inside of Michael that one of the people that got to go with the hurricane hunters, it was on the sixth pass through the eye as it was a Category 4 hurricane, and gives you an idea as to what they were looking at inside the eye of the hurricane. You can look down, they're right there in the middle of the storm. You got the thunderstorms all around them, and looking straight up, and you see nothing but blue skies. And that coming from the hurricane hunters as they make their way through the eye of a Category 4 hurricane. And unfortunately, we're going to get a lot of folks that are going to see what that view looks like from the ground as this thing makes landfall. Category 4 hurricane, strongest hurricane to ever hit here in Northwest Florida. Ryan, what do you have for us?
Well, we're looking at that eye wall and that outer band as it gets dangerously close here. If we can zoom into Bay County and get right up on towards the coastline there with that outer band, because that is the band that we are going to see at least the most detrimental winds from this system. So right up on towards the coastline, you start to notice a little bit of that outer band of the eye wall itself starting to clip onto portions of the coastline. Now remember, we wouldn't have necessary landfall until the center of the circulation, so the center of the eye works up on towards the coast. But that center is about 23 miles away, and just those outer bands are right up on towards the coastline here, if not just a matter of a few miles here before we start to feel the real effects of a Category 4, a very strong Category 4 system that contains about 150 mile-per-hour winds in this inner band here. And folks, the closer you get to that inner eye wall part of the band, the stronger it's going to be. We still have effects of very strong tropical storm force and hurricane force winds associated with this band that stretches from the north side of Panama City and all the way down towards the southeast, coming through Weewah right now with some pretty strong gusts. It's going to be windy. It's going to be noisy outside, just like it is down here towards Panama City here at this point, folks. You look at the sustained winds with this system, and while I'm only reporting 36, I can guarantee you that the gusts are much higher than that outside here right now. 54 mile-per-hour sustained winds in that band that stretches from Panama City over towards Apalachicola. But once we see this inner band, the eye wall, work its way up onto the coastline, it'd be surprising if maybe even that report there, 36-mile-per-hour winds up at the airport, even hangs on. So they've gone ahead and issued an extreme wind warning. This is a very rare thing to ever see get issued. They just started with these back in 2005 after that hurricane season, and they only issued them for things like hurricanes, basically, because everything else, a severe thunderstorm, maybe a derecho could get up there, but they said that they don't issue for derechos, for downsloping winds off a mountain. They don't issue for anything, not even for a tornado would they issue an extreme wind warning. That's just how rare this is, and it does cover the Bay County coastline all the way around portions of the Gulf County coastline, stretching down to Franklin County and into St. George Island. What it takes to get to that, sustained winds over 111 miles per hour an hour before it actually happens. And that's where we are. We're within that window, and this got issued not too long ago, and it looks like it'll last until 2:15 Eastern time or 1 o'clock Central there for a lot of us folks outside of Gulf County. Now, the eye itself is working its way on a north-northeasterly track, so we are dangerously close to getting that outer band to push on towards the Bay County coastline, where we will see some of the strongest features with this system, folks. It is certainly going to be packing a big-time punch as it does roll its way on towards the coast. It's a scary-looking thing, folks, and it's not something that you need to go venturing outside in. Even if you fall under the path of this eye, when it works its way over, you saw what Chris showed us, how that video of just basically calm skies in the middle of these things. It's tempting, but here's the problem. You go outside, say it picks up speed, and you're not anticipating, or it wobbles left to right. And you think it's quiet outside, you think it's safe, and then all of a sudden you get a wobble, and all of a sudden the 150-mile-per-hour winds associated with this outer band just wallops your house. You do not want to be outside when something like that happens. So while it could be tempting to get out there into the center of a Cat 5 hurricane, you're taking your life into your own hands at that point. So just keep that in mind. This is a very dangerous storm system. Everybody, we just got to stay hunkered down as it slowly meanders its way up on towards the coast here. So, folks, that outer band containing the big-time winds, and we're dangerously close to seeing some of those deeper reds on radar that contain some of the strongest winds. And still look at the lightning that's associated with it. This storm hasn't weakened once. Once it was created in the Western Caribbean, worked its way up into Gulf waters that are extremely warm, less shear, perfect environment for it to grow, to continue to grow. And that's what we've seen. From day one with this system, not once did it actually weaken, but it grew the whole time. And this is an unbelievable event here for the Panhandle, an unprecedented event. Never has a Category 4 hurricane made landfall in the Panhandle. So every other storm that we've named, I know Nisa walked in and said, I'm getting flashbacks of Opal. This is way worse than Opal, folks. When this works its way through, we're talking utter devastation in portions of Bay County, not only just Bay County, Gulf County as well. And then when it moves further northeast, maybe out of Bay County on into Calhoun counties, and we start to see some effects up towards Washington County in a couple hours, and then off towards portions of Jackson County, we're still going to have hurricane force winds, strong hurricane force winds, maybe Cat 2, Cat 3 worthy, hanging on into some of our counties as this tries to roll its way up to 31. So, folks, while this band works its way up on towards the coastline here, this is the time we hunker down, we get to the middle of our homes, we get to the middle of our places, and we stay there until we give the all clear that this has passed by. And for a little more information on the storm system, let's head over to Donna and Jessica in the newsroom.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. We are right now in the WJHG newsroom. We actually moved in here for safety reasons. This is the older part of our building. You know how they say older things are created a little stronger?
Right.
When we were renovating this building, we saw the concrete poured beams that go all the way across, and we've always been told this building was made to be sort of like a bunker. Unfortunately, the studio where our weather center is not. That's a newer portion, so when it's not safe for the weather team, we're going to have to pull them in here as well. Frankly, that sound was getting pretty terrifying, and we wanted to get out of that particular area, go ahead and set up a studio here. I believe we're working on getting some live pictures for you of just outside of our studios here in Panama City Beach.
We can already see a lot of debris. The wind is picking up. We're looking at it now. Yes, we are actually seeing signs from down the street coming into our parking lot.
Right. We are seeing debris flying. The trees are literally, they almost don't look like they're moving when they're almost stuck in a bent position. Getting some pretty horrific gusts as well. Now, we're close to windows. We tell you not to be close to windows, so if it gets to that intensity point, we are going into the interior of our building. We will continue, if we have to just talk from the interior of our building, we'll keep going live as long as we can to keep giving you information. But what you're looking at right now is looking right out into our parking lot. Our studio is right here on Front Beach Road of Panama City Beach. We're actually in floodplain C, a higher point of the beach, if there is such a thing right now. But we're going to continue to see these conditions deteriorate as it gets closer. I believe that we do have Paris and Scott available at the Bay County Emergency Operations Center.
Yes, they have some updates for us. Of course, the Bay County EOC is the heartbeat of information right now, and we're going to go there now. And Scott and Paris, what do you have for us?
Officials that it is in fact safe to get back on the roads and back to your home. When they make that, it's hard to say. He couldn't say the storm will dictate that, but they will be doing their best to make sure that that is as quick as can possibly be done. Now, this was also reiterated by Ruth Corley, who said Bay County Sheriff's Office is, of course, ready to go, but they have to hunker down as well because they have to stay safe too. But as soon as it is safe to get out, they will get out. They will make an assessment of the area, and they will be able to determine when it's going to be safe to get back out there. Congressman Neil Dunn spoke as well, once again saying the same thing and saying, stay safe. Please be safe where you are right now. There's no reason to get out on the roads. There's no reason to be out in any way. Stay where you are. They will release the information on when it is okay and when it is safe to get back to your homes, and just stay where you are. And that's the message we're having right here from the Emergency Management Center.
Tree fall.
Oh.
A tree just fell across
Yes,
the
it
street.
did. Okay. And we
and
just
I-
saw a car going down the road. Everyone, please stay off the roads. You need to be sheltered in place right now. We are going to be frank with you because this is a dangerous situation. You do not need to be on the road right now. Wherever you're at in your home, that's where you need to stay until we give you the all clear.
I have never seen a tree fall live like that, just looking out the window, and it looks like they're just blowing over very, very easy like twigs, just snapping like twigs. Misa's telling us that there's trees blocking the roads in Callaway. I had a friend send me pictures from Bunkers Cove Road where there are trees all down there. We are looking across the street right here at Front Beach Road. We, like I said earlier, Jessica and I have moved into our studio, the more fortified part of our building here at our studios at WJHG. When we don't feel it's safe to be close to the windows, we will be moving interior. But right now, we are just seeing something that I can honestly say that the producers and Jessica and I sitting here have never, ever witnessed.
No, this is incredible, and we are not even in the heart of the storm right now. I mean, we're just seeing it. We've still got at least another hour to go of very strong winds and some of the worst conditions. So, Donna, this is not one that can be taken lightly. And that's why when I saw a car go down the road, I couldn't believe it.
This is not a time for sightseeing, okay? We are going to try to talk you through everything. We're here. We can't go anywhere at this point. Wherever you are is your shelter. You need to stay safe, shelter in place, wherever that may be. Do not take any risk. Emergency officials are fearing that this could be catastrophic and involve casualties. So please shelter in place. Stay where you are safe. We have generator power here at our studios. Most places do not have power at this point. We're going to continue to keep this live stream up on Island 106 Radio. Many people have been asking about that. And at WJHG.com. We have a live stream and our Facebook page. We will continue to go live as long as we can. We have scanners that go on that give us information about where events are happening as we're covering our day-to-day news. And right now, they're just going nonstop.
Yeah, they really are going
and
nonstop.
Emergency officials are not going to be able to respond to you if you need help right now.
No, that's what they said, that they have to stay in place now, too. So they have families also, and we want to protect their life. So you need to get into an interior portion of your home. That's going to be the best area for you until this passes. And I know you may have to stay in that interior location for a while, but it is for your safety and for your family's safety.
At this point, we've already told all of our news crews to stay inside, stay in place. Do not try to do any kind of coverage until this is over, unless it's from a window in an area that you feel somewhat secure. We are just going to continue to watch this here, but I can honestly say it looks like twigs snapping when you see trees across the street. I know that pictures can't always grasp what you see with your own eyes, and what I just saw is something I'm not going to forget and really wish we never had to see here in Panama City Beach. But this is where we are. Storm is about to make landfall. We're going to head right over to Chief Meteorologist Chris Smith to see exactly where it is.
Oh, thanks a lot, guys. Yes, the hurricane going to be making landfall across, basically, it looks like the central to eastern part of Bay County. You can still see a lot of lightning flashes located around the center. This is the satellite and radar picture showing a very well-defined eye. Hurricane hunters continuing to investigate this at flight level. They did find Category 5 winds, but is running out of real estate to continue to strengthen as it continues to move towards the coastline. The eye wall is now moving in to the area over near Tyndall Air Force Base and over near Mexico Beach. So some of the worst weather now beginning to move in. Here at our studios at WJHG, the trees are just, just bending over completely. And we're just now beginning to see, right here's our studios, and we're now just beginning to see part of that eye wall finding its way here. Right now, currently the center of the eye is about 15 miles away from the coastline. The edge of the eye is about 7 miles away. It's moving at about 15 miles an hour. So you're basically looking at right now a half hour before the edge of the eye moves on shore and about an hour before the center of the eye crosses the coastline. So we're still probably talking about an hour away from landfall, which would put us at about 12:42 or so Central Time with the center of the eye. That's when officially landfall is, when the center of the eye crosses the coastline. But now the eye wall is moving in over near Crooked Island, Mexico Beach, Tyndall Air Force Base, the drone runway over there. Emily, go ahead, if you can, check the status and see if that's even reporting still. But that's the drone runway is basically going to take a direct hit, and they have a weather station over there that reports. Here you see the eye or the lightning data located around the eye. Now sampling near the radar site or from the radar site up in Red Bay, we've seen winds at a few thousand feet above the ground at 170 plus miles per hour, and it's basically kind of been in this eastern quadrant right here with the eye wall. And then that's where the strongest winds are, over on that eastern side, and that's piling the water up, and that's piling the water up over into Cape San Blas. Cape San Blas, you're seeing some of the worst of the storm surge right now. And even so, once that ends up happening, you see that 170 miles an hour. And then after the eye moves through, you're going to start getting hit with perpendicular winds to Cape San Blas, and that's going to pile up some of the worst of the water there. So as the eye moves on shore, you get the perpendicular winds pushing in along the coastline, and that's so you're looking at right now the water rise on Cape San Blas is going to really begin to ramp almost directly up over in Cape San Blas. That's going to be the case over in Mexico Beach, with some of the worst of the storm surge now beginning to occur right now, because again, the winds blow counterclockwise around the hurricane, so it just kind of spins in a big circle. And you see how Ryan's drawn the arrows on here, and that's just running directly into the coastline. And that's how the water piles up to the absolute highest amount. And again, 9 to 14 feet is what we're expecting over into this area as the eye continues to push on shore. Over basically on this side of the storm, we're still looking at a storm surge that could be as high as 9 feet on Panama City Beach. But again, the eye right now probably about less than 30 minutes away from pushing on shore. The center of the eye crossing the coastline, we're probably looking at within the hour, which would put us a little bit before 1 o'clock Central Time. After that, it will continue to accelerate and gradually make its way farther inland. So we continue to watch. We get rid of the satellite picture, and you see, just looking at the radar, again, it's going to be in this band right here. You notice that circle right there. That's where the most intense winds are going to end up being, right through there. Now back over into places like Walton County, still very windy. You still are going to have the possibility of getting up to hurricane force sustained winds. But the worst of the weather, the Category 4 to almost 5 winds that we've been warning you about, with the worst of the conditions, is going to move in across Bay County right now. So if we zoom in over towards the like Callaway area, we're going to be looking at Callaway, Tyndall Air Force Base, over towards East Bay, the shipyard over at Allenton. That's going to be bearing some of the brunt of this. And there you see the eye wall right now. Basically, there's Mexico Beach, which is right there, over towards Port St. Joe. And then the drone runway is right up here. And the eye is basically making its way over Crooked Island. You see Crooked Island right here? And it's going to be crossing right over this general vicinity with the eye. Once that eye crosses the coastline, you'll be able to look up and you'll be able to see completely clear skies. It's going to be absolutely blue skies. There you see Ryan drawing the center. Right now, 12 to about 13 miles just off the coastline, the center of the eye, with the edge of the eye wall right now moving on shore, and then about 6 miles right there as far as the depth of the eye wall before the center begins to kind of push on shore. And again, this is, as of 11:45 Central Time, a Category 4 hurricane making landfall here in northwest Florida. Strongest hurricane ever. This is going to be stronger than Eloise, obviously, Kate, Opal, all of them. This is one of the more powerful hurricanes to make landfall in the United States in recent memory. There you see, speaks for itself. It's going to be a terrifying afternoon. Everyone just needs to stay safe, hunker down. We're going to ride this out together. We're going to keep you posted as best we can with all the latest information. We have the news crews gathering information for you on that side, and we're continuing to track, Emily, Tyler, myself, with the very latest on the hurricane as it makes landfall. Now, by this evening, by say 9 o'clock tonight, it's going to be very quiet. It's going to be a lot better across northwest Florida. As the winds will die down, we'll be back below tropical storm force, and then tomorrow we can begin to kind of assess the damage. Wind gusts reported across the Panhandle. You see 69 miles an hour gust over at Tyndall Air Force Base and 89 mile per hour gust over into Apalachicola. And that's where we're seeing that high water rise, in particular over into Apalachicola with the storm surge, now that the storm's moving on shore, because again, that wind's out of the south and east, and that runs perpendicular to the coastline down there across St. George Island and over into Apalachicola. And so that's where we're looking at some of the biggest water rise. Do you have any of the latest as far as the water rise over in Apalachicola? See if we can pull that back up, because they should be starting to reach some of the peak storm surge and really seeing, you're going to see on the hydrograph showing the water level. It's going to really begin to kind of pop up here real quick over into Appalachian. They were earlier at they were at 5 or 6 feet of storm surge. And so now they're at basically 8 feet of storm, or a little under 8 feet of storm. Well, hold on, 8.04. They should be at 0.42. So they're at a little bit under 8 feet of inundation in Apalachicola. They're now beginning to come out the other side, moving from low tide and moving back towards high tide, but that's going to be a little bit later on this afternoon. So if there's any saving grace, it's about a foot and change as far as the difference between low and high tide. So it's hitting at a better time, but because our tidal range isn't that big, it's not all that significant as far as the change, but we'll take any foot we can get. But this is over in Apalachicola. Again, we're looking at close to a little under 8 feet of inundation, and we were talking about the forecast was for 9 to 14 feet. So we still have the potential for several more feet of storm surge possible over into Apalachicola, and that's also the case over into Cape San Blas, Indian Pass, and around through the eastern end of Bay County. Pretty much where the eye is on eastward, that's where that 9 to 14 feet is going to be possible. To the west of that, 6 to 9 feet of storm surge. We've already seen damage on Panama City Beach, including we had basically a house collapse on the beach. I think it was probably undermined because of the water running underneath of it because of the storm surge, and that was from a while ago. Winds right now currently at 150 miles an hour. We'll have another update coming from, let's see, stations now reporting 116 miles an hour as the eye wall comes ashore. That's a tweet that I just saw a second ago. Let's see. So as the eye continues to move on, we'll see those winds continue to pick up and that surge, the water continue to pile up. So again, basically the worst of the surge right now is pushing in through the pass in Panama City Beach, pushing over across the coastline over near Tyndall Air Force Base, Crooked Island, and then over into Cape San Blas and around over towards Apalachicola. The winds right now in this area are also the strongest, and they're now beginning to buffet the coastline. Basically, the strongest of the winds are from the east end of Panama City Beach and along the coastline over towards Tyndall Air Force Base and pushing up towards Callaway. My friends in Callaway, things are about ready to get real and get real dangerous as this storm continues to move inland. We can take a little closer look. I want to look at some of the communities up here along State Highway 22 and moving over into Callaway, Springfield. You see right there is Callaway. You're just on the edge of some of the strongest winds with that eye wall. Beacon Beach, you are now basically in the eye wall of the storm. This is over the, Parker. Over into Parker, the Tyndall Bridge. So right there is the Tyndall Bridge, now basically about ready to be in the eye wall. You see some of the lightning that's showing up there. Associated with the hurricane as it continues to move up closer and now across the coastline. Again, landfall, we still expect it to be the center. That's when they measure when landfall is when the center of the eye crosses the coastline, so we still have a ways on that. But still, we expect that to be before 1 o'clock this afternoon. An absolutely perfectly symmetric hurricane that continues to intensify by any measure of things from the hurricane hunters, and we'll continue to monitor what they're sending in, but we should have another update here in just a few minutes from the Hurricane Center with some of the new information. But you see Ryan drawing on the screen, it's absolutely a picture-perfect circle. And as you look at the eye wall, basically the area of the strongest winds, again, we're looking at several miles of that. And then, you know, you're looking at the eye wall probably lasting anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes as far as the worst of the weather. Then you're going to have the calm of the eye. And then after that, that could last, well, the eye right now is, you know, anywhere from, it's about, 15 miles or so across. So you have 15 miles, it's moving 15 miles an hour. You have almost an hour that's actually going to be very still. And then the other side of the eye begins to come on shore, and that's when conditions will go back downhill once again, just about as bad as what they were on the first side. So as you go from the outer edge of the eye wall to the outer edge of the eye wall, you can see that's over 30 miles. So that's basically 2 hours to get from the outer edge through the eye and then coming back out the other side. Thanks for doing that, guys. Right now, if you're on Panama City Beach, you're seeing water rise. We're seeing very gusty winds. We've seen some trees come down here at the TV station. But as far as the west end of the beaches, avoiding some of the worst of the eye wall, again, it's going to be basically anywhere you kind of see that orange and red color, that's basically the eye wall, and that's where the strongest winds are going to be, and that's going to continue to slide up. So even places inland like Youngstown, you're probably going to end up getting into the eye wall. Places, you know, like Weewa, and then back up towards Clarksville, Bluntstown, as this storm continues to spin down as it gradually weakens. But it's going to take a long time to do it. And because the storm is now moving more quickly, it's going to take, it's not going to decrease in intensity all that much as it moves quickly through our area. So, you know, it's going to still be a hurricane the entire way through northwest Florida. So we're not going to see any significant kinds of weakening from the storm. Latest winds in Appalachia, sustained winds at 60 miles an hour, 46 at Tyndall Air Force Base, 36 degrees up at Northwest Beaches. You notice the winds at Northwest Beaches right now are blowing out of the north, so that's on the western side of the eye wall. You notice the winds up in Mariana. You're right now at 23 miles per hour, and we're at 15 miles an hour back over in Crestview. The gusts right now, gusting to 84 miles an hour in Apalachicola, gusting to 69 at Tyndall Air Force Base, and north wind gusting at 54 at Northwest Beaches. You see 39 miles per hour over into Mariana, and that's with the center of the storm continuing to move up towards the north and east. Right now, the latest has been at about 15 miles per hour. Talking about the threats across our area, things continuing to go downhill. That's what we've seen this afternoon. Again, basically, we're kind of in this time frame right here, and we're getting into the maximum amount of wind damage up into the major category. We're also looking at the flooding risks will begin to increase as we continue to pile up the water here very shortly. We're seeing the peak time of storm surge as the eye's moving on shore. So those are going to be the primary two threats right now. We still do have a risk of tornadoes. We haven't had any tornado warnings, but as far as the storm surge and the wind damage, those are the two big things that we're looking at right now as our primary threats, with the rain continuing to pile up as well. We'll be talking about, you know, when it's all said and done, probably 5 to 10 inches of rainfall and a pretty good swath across northwest Florida. As you look at the storm, the southern edge of the rainfall, how far is it from the eye wall basically out to that back edge of the rainfall, Ryan? Okay, so about 40 miles, but then how much is it from basically here all the way out to the end of the rain?
From where again?
From basically the backside of the eye wall out to, the end of the rain.
We'll see if we can get radar data to go all the way out that way. There could be some more still out there that radar can't sample, but let's check that out. So from the onset of the eye wall to the end.
So that would be roughly with the increasing speed, at least close to 4 hours probably. Yeah. Now left as far as the wind, not as far as the wind, but as far as the rain. Once the eye moves on shore, you're looking at about 4 hours more of hurricane, and then gradually decreasing wind speeds and decreasing rainfall. But still, even in these outer bands, you see some of the more intense rainfall we're looking at is in that final outer band. We do have a little bit of a break after the eye wall. Then we see a little bit of, a little bit of a break in some of the rainfall. It's still going to be very, very windy, but we'll continue to even see back out here over across the Gulf of Mexico in that final band some very gusty winds before we finally give. Ooh. What was that? Did it? Sounded like we lost a tree or something right out back. So anyway, as far as what we can all do, I want you to just stay in your safe place, an interior hallway, a bathroom, a closet. Treat this like it was a tornado warning. We were on the air telling you a tornado, because this is going to be stronger than a lot of tornadoes, and it's much more massive. So you need to go to a hallway, a closet, a bathroom. You want to seek